Hello everyone, welcome to Chess 5, and today I'm going to show you the game between Hikaru Nakamura versus Magnus Carlsen. So this game was played yesterday on 20 August 2020. So this was the last set of the tournament of the Magnus Chess Tour. So this was the round number 1. So Hikaru Nakamura is white and Magnus Carlsen is black. So let's start the game. So here Hikaru Nakamura started with 1 e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and now bishop to b5. Roy López opening. Knight to f6, d3, knight to bishop to c5, bishop into c6, d into c6. And guys, we can see many games were played. In, this is the same line. This is the same line. Every game is played with the similar variation. Here knight to d2, castle h3, stopping bishop to g4, knight d7, knight c4, a5, grabbing some space on the queen side, bishop to e3, asking for a bishop trade. Here f6, castle, b5, kicking the knight from the c4 square, knight to d2, bishop into e3, bishop into e3, and a4, knight to h4, trying to put the knight on f5, c5, knight to f5, knight to b6, queen to e2, bishop to e6, knight to f3. Plan Maybe Hikaru Nakamura's plan is to play king h1, g4, queen g2, and attack on the king side. So here queen d7, giving some pressure on the f5 knight. Here knight to h4, rook to d8, rook to d1, king h8, and now d4, opening up the position. Here c into d4, e into d4, e into d4, and a rook into d4, attacking the queen. Here queen to c6, rook a d1, queen c5, pinning up the rook. Here queen f2. Guys, queen f2 was a mistake by Nakamura. The much better move in this position is to play b4. Simply attacking the queen. The queen cannot take the rook, obviously. The queen cannot take the pawn. The rook is protecting it. So here the natural move looks a into b3. After a into b3, here comes a into b3. And guys, the position is fine for white. The idea could be simply playing king h1 in the future and simply take the rook, or even we can triple the d5. So this should be the idea of Hikaru Nakamura, but he didn't gone for it, and he played at the place of b4. He played queen to f2. Okay, so that the rook is no more longer pinned. So now rook into d4, knight into d4, bishop into a2, b3, trying to block the bishop, rook to d8, knight to f5, a into b3, c into b3, bishop into b3, and knight into g7, sacrificing the knight on g7. Guys, the knight into g7 was a blunder by Hikaru Nakamura. This was actually a bad move. It looks very tempting as the king, after a king into g7, the king is very widely open, so it could be an easy target for white to attack. But actually, black pieces are going to defend the king, and it would be successful for black to defend himself. So the best move at the place of knight into g7 is to play rook to b1, attacking the bishop. So here bishop to c4, knight into b5. I'm just showing you a sample line. Here queen into f2 check, king into f2, rook to d2 check, king to g1, bishop to d3, attacking the rook. Here rook to b3, bishop into e4, knight to e3, knight to d7, and knight to d7, and then after knight into c7. White is a pawn down, but if white will play perfectly, black then white can hold a draw in this position. And many of you thinking, why not c6? Simply protecting the pawn, and black is just 2 pawn up. But now comes knight to c6, attacking the bishop on e4 as well as the knight on b6. So something is going to fall. So that's why c6 is not possible. So after bishop into b8 comes knight into g7 check. Here rook into d4, rook into d4, king into g7, queen to g3 check, king to f8, queen e3, simply protecting the d4 rook, knight to d7, king to h1, king to e8, queen to d2, giving some pressure on the d7 knight. But here bishop e6, very calm move, simply protecting the knight to d7. Here e5, queen into e5, rook to h4, knight to f8, queen to b4, and a king to f7. Guys, this position is completely winning for Magnus Carlsen. As you can see, all the black pieces are just well coordinating each other, and black is just doing all great. As the knight is defending the h7 pawn, the queen is defending the c7 pawn as well as the b5 pawn. Your bishop is allowing no check to the king on f7. So black is just doing all great. So here rook to e4, attacking the queen on e5. Here c5, attacking the queen. Here queen to b1, queen to d5, rook to f4, b4, queen to a1, knight to d7, queen to b1, attacking the h7 pawn. Your king g7, queen e1, b3, planning to play c4, c3, b2, c2, and simply make a queen. And actually white cannot stop the black to make the queen. So after b3, queen g3 check, queen g5, and guys, after queen g5, Hikaru Nakamura resigned the game in this position. As you can see, this is just completely losing position for Hikaru Nakamura. As after queen into g5, f into g5, the rook cannot stop these 2 pawns. These 2 pawns are protected by the bishop as well as the knight. So the first game was won by Magnus Carlsen of the set number 7 with the black pieces. So this was a very interesting game. So guys, if you like this video, then please like it, share it, subscribe it, and thank you for watching.
You just walk right out the door. Don't wanna do this anymore. Now I'm lost without you.